Hey guys, we are going to review W1 writing arguments. We're going to focus specifically too on your unit. So think about this as like what would be a body paragraph, or just focusing on writing one good argumentative paragraph. So the first sentence would be your topic sentence, and this is where you make your claim. So remember, it needs to be clear, specific, compelling, debatable, and defensible. So my claim for this example is Americans cannot claim to be the greatest country in the world until its citizens condemn all acts of white supremacy. So I got my Americans, the what, claiming to be the greatest country in the world until they condemn all acts of white supremacy. Okay, so those are the three main parts of my claim. So my examples and evidence comes next. This is where you expand on the claim and get more specific. So I got my claim there, and then I went into more detail. This part, slavery ended over 150 years ago, and America helped stop the Nazis from persecuting Jews 76 years ago. Yet, so many white Americans still believe themselves to be superior to Americans of color. So notice this part is three sentences long. This should be more than one sentence. You need to really go into some more detail about why this is true, why your claim is true. We condemn all acts of white supremacy. Then you have to prove it. So remember, your evidence needs to be recent and reliable. And for the commentary, that's just answering the question, why does the evidence matter? So some of you guys really struggled with finding evidence that directly supported the claim. So I'm proving that America cannot be great until... So I pulled up this snapshot from one of your articles. So you can see here in this first paragraph, let's see, this one stood out to me the most. The hate crimes and growth of far-right militias. They're seeing warning signs of a society that is not fully grasped past lessons. So this sticks out to me because it's certainly not something that shows that America is great. So to incorporate that, I made a typo here. We're going to delete this. Okay, now it's correct. Frank Horstein, a Jewish journalist, discusses the recent insurrection at the Capitol. Notice I used a colon here instead of a comma because what comes before it is a complete sentence. So then I have my quotation marks and my capital. Add that to the steep rise in hate crimes in recent years and the growth of far-right militias, and you understand why some Holocaust survivors and several institutions committed to honoring the victims of Nazi genocide say the U.S. is seeing warning signs for a society that has not fully grasped past lessons. Notice no punctuation here. I got my author's last name in parentheses. There is no page number. If there was, I would put that there too. And the period comes after the parentheses. So that's my evidence. And it's pretty long because there was it's like a compound, complex sentence. So then this part is my commentary. Okay, your commentary needs to be longer than your evidence. This extreme event perpetuates bigotry and hate, and many Americans refuse to condemn those acts. America was founded on the basis of equality, yet here we are 245 years later, and people of color are still being persecuted. Americans correlate the country with freedom and pride, the tenets that make this the greatest country in the world. But freedom and pride are only adjectives that describe life for white and or privileged Americans. So notice I'm not just summarizing what my evidence said. I'm going into more detail and answering that question of why does this matter. Next comes your counterclaim and rebuttal. Counterclaim, presenting the other side, and you want to make sure you present a strong point from the opposing side, and then your rebuttal is where you argue against it. And it should also, kind of like your explanations and your commentary, should be longer than your counterclaim. So my counterclaim, let me get down to where I left off. Here. Many Americans, read white supremacists, argue that American democracy is being threatened by Democrats who are trying to let immigrants and people of color live off the backs of working Americans. That's the counterclaim. This is my rebuttal. This is completely illogical. American democracy is about giving everyone a voice. Furthermore, what makes America great is that it helps those in need. America cannot truly be the greatest country in the world until this includes non-native citizens and people of color. So notice too, I kind of went back to this idea of being the greatest country in the world again in my rebuttal, and notice it's longer than my counterclaim. Finally comes your concluding sentence where you tie everything together. So let me get to the bottom. Here's my concluding sentence. Until white supremacy is condemned and fades away, we are headed in the same direction that Nazi Germany did. So I brought into account what I talked about in this body, and then I tie it back directly to my claim. So you guys are going to get some more practice doing this today.